Welcome to meditation, Monkchat and meditation retreats. My name is Phra Somboon. So I'm going to be with you and give the introduction to Buddhism for this section. So welcome to our program. So this program actually, let me talk a little bit about Monkchat Program and how Monkchat Program was found actually. So Monkchat Program was found around 16 years ago by our senior monk, and the idea is that many foreigners came and visited Chiang Mai, and many foreigners they really wanted to chat with Buddhist monk, but it's not an easy thing to approach the Buddhist monk. So that's why the Buddhist university here they have seen that problem. Then they just provide this place in order to allow the foreigner to walk in and simply chat with the Buddhist monk. And also the Buddhist monk themselves also had opportunity to practice and improve their ways of teaching and practicing language, especially English. So that's why Monkchat Program here we use English as for spreading Dharma and talking about Buddhism. It's like now it become one of the Buddhist learning center. So we have now many different Buddhist monks from many different countries came and study here at the Buddhist university. So we're here, that is about a Monkchat Program, and later we have a meditation course, meditation retreat, which we provide for those who are interested in practice and learn more deeper about Buddhism, especially to put the teaching into practice. So there's in the teaching in Buddhism, there's two different parts. We call philosophical part and practical part. So which is about teaching, theory, and practical part. So both go together. So in the meditation retreat, you're going to learn how to practice formal meditation, like sitting meditation, walking meditation, standing meditation, or even lying meditation. So this introduction to Buddhism, it is important to start with the background, how Buddhism spread to Thailand. So maybe some of you here may have heard about the Buddha, the Buddhism, or basic understanding of the we call history of Buddhism. Now maybe we'll take a look and review. Maybe some of you may have heard about this. Do you know who the Buddha is? Can anybody share with us here? Maybe some sharing information. Who may know who the Buddha is? Maybe some information? No one? Please?
He was a prince.
He was a prince?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
He's from India.
From India? Any more? Siddhartha? Siddhartha? Uh-huh. Any more information about the Buddha? No? Okay, this is a basic brief history of Buddhism. And actually, when we talk about the history of Buddhism, it's good to start with the founder, or what we know as Buddha. So the Buddha, as you mentioned, that he was an Indian prince. Back to 2,500 years ago, there was born a young Indian prince named Siddhartha. When Siddhartha was born, he was born in 623 BC in Lumpini Park, which is now in Nepal, at the border between India and Nepal. Lumpini Park, that is the place where he was born. And this is the highlight, we call the turning point of history. The Prince Siddhartha was raised in a very luxurious environment. He was served so many things, like pleasures and many service, luxurious and comfortable, like living in the palace. And this is what make him very thoughtful about life, because he was raised in the very convenient life and have never seen like experience just the suffering of life. But one day he came out from his palace and visited his temple, and he came across this reality of life, that is suffering in life. And what he met is that he saw an old man, a sick man, and the cough, which is he had never seen in his life. And when he first saw this kind of reality, he was very thoughtful that why we have to like ill and get old and die. I don't want to die. I don't want to get old. I don't want to be sick, But that is a nature, the reality that he cannot, couldn't find out the answer. Then he just, the following day he came out and visited his people. And he saw, we call an ascetic monk, we call for those ordained in order to seek and to free from suffering at that time. And when he saw this ascetic, he felt very peaceful. And he thought that maybe being an ascetic could be the answer, how to be free from these kind of sufferings in life. And finally, he decided to leave everything behind, like left his palace, his comfortable life, in order to find out and figure out how to end this kind of cycle of suffering. And that is this beginning of his journey of shaking, finding the path, how to be free from suffering. And this is when he renunciates like ordained. He cut himself hair, which is showing that I'm no longer a prince. I'm going to be an ascetic or spiritual path, following the spiritual way. So we call it renunciation. From then on, he became an Siddhartha hermit or an ascetic. Then he spent around 6 years in order to figure it out, the way how to free from suffering, old age, sickness, and death. He went to study. From many different schools at that time in India, from the many different series of teacher, guru, which is well known. Like some school saying that maybe practicing in a high level of meditation can lead one to be free from suffering. But he found that there's no school that can really tell him the answer. How can we really free from old age, sickness, and death? And finally, he left those schools, even his two great teachers, and he tried to figure it out by himself by practicing. We call it a mortification. Mortification is about to torture oneself, with the understanding that if we make ourselves in the very extreme pain, especially torture our own body, when we get that extreme pain or suffering, we will be free from suffering if we can stand for it. Like, for example, put oneself in the ice to make oneself very cold, and still he got a very painful, and stop breathing for a long time, and still he got a very headache, or grabbing, making his own hands like this for years, and still it is said that the nail is stab back to his hand. So even those extreme of practicing didn't allow him to be able to realize anything, how to be free from suffering. And one of the extreme way, maybe if you visit some temple, you may see the skeleton Buddha, the Buddha that's is like a skeleton meditating. That's when he stopped eating for a long time. He tried to reducing the amount of food that he ate, reducing smaller and smaller, and still no longer eating. Then he until he reached to the point that if he continue practice in that extreme way, he will die before become the enlightened one or the Buddha. And realizing that he stopped doing so, and by changing his mind that maybe this is not the right way, it's too extreme. The only thing that I get is only pain and great suffering that arise. Then he stopped doing so, then come back to eat, and when his body become back to normal, say healthy, now he have the energy to practice meditation. And when he was younger, when he was a child, around 7 years old, he remember he did a meditation we call breathing meditation. At that time, he recognized that it allowed him to have a very peaceful mind. The mind is clear and stable. And he applied that meditation technique, observing the breathing in and breathing out. And still his mind become calmer. And then he, based on that meditation, he applied another kind of meditation which is called vipassana. It's about the self-meditation, about the bodies and mind. And that allowed him to cultivate the wisdom and allow him to see the cause of suffering, the cause that makes us to continue in the circle of suffering. And he found it in actually all the suffering that happen in our life is not because of things out there, but because of the misunderstanding about self. And that create we call ego or selfishness. And that is we call the source of that leading us to continue suffering in life. And realizing that reality, he was able to let go. We call the cause of that suffering or craving. And then later he called himself as the awakened one or the Buddha. The word Bodhi or Buddha is from awake. The Buddha is awakened one. So then later after he became the Buddha, he spread his teaching and what he discovered from his practice to the people, and many follow monks ordained as a Buddhist monk and practice and also be able to free oneself from suffering. Enlightenment. And this is the core teaching of the Buddha that we call this step. So avoid bad is like a concern with the behavior, and do good, cultivating the generosity, and purifying the mind, which is the core, the most important part, that all the evil thing and actually is not from this body or this mouth, but it actually because our mind, we don't know clearly about our own mind. We don't check our intention clearly. So that's why the root of the evil thing or suffering, and actually because we don't know how to deal with our own mind. And he spent the rest of his life, around 45 years, to propagate his teaching to the people. And then at the age of 80, he passed away. And we call it the nirvana, Pali nirvana. It's like completely nirvana. Okay, this is the further information maybe from his biography. So renunciates, like he became an ascetic at the age of 29. And he became the Buddha, or achieved enlightenment at the age of 35. This means he spent 6 years to find out the way until he discovered and become the Buddha. This is the brief history about the Buddha, and passed away at the age of 80. After the passing away of the Buddha, his teaching was preserved by the oral transmission. It's like the teaching, the monk, the follower, just remember and reciting. You will see like sometime monk will do chanting or we call memorizing, we call rehearsal, to keep the teaching from generation. After that, 300 years, the passing away of the Buddha, his teaching was recorded and as a text, written form. We call later Tripitaka. It's like in Christianity, it's like a holy Bible. Like in Buddhism, we call it the triple chain or Tripitaka. Here, this is the Thai version. And all the teaching of the Buddha was were recorded in this book and divided in 3 different sections, which is about the morality, it's about the meditation and wisdom. This is the teaching that's records. Okay, let's now move to the one of the most important parts on this section is about the teaching of the Buddha, what he really discovered from his teaching. And that is, in Buddhist term, we use the word Dharma. Anybody knows the word Dharma? And can you maybe give us a definition of the word Dharma? Maybe you're not familiar with this word. By your understanding, Dharma. Have you ever seen this term? Are you familiar with this term? Dharma something? So the word Dharma, in actually, Dharma is basically translated in English as reality. Dharma could be anything. Dharma could be the teaching of the Buddha. Dharma could be nature or phenomena. And Dharma cover everything, like our life. These bodies and mind also Dharma is a part of the nature. This building, Dharma. So Dharma is a very broad meaning, and actually the word Dharma, the teaching. So this is we call one of the core teaching, the core teaching or the main teaching of the Buddha, what he discovered from his practice. All the teaching, like in Tripitaka, or the teaching that he taught the people, everything are linked to one of the teaching called the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truth is the core teaching that what he discovered, that's reality. The truth, what is the truth of the truth that he discovered? The first thing that he discovered, he found that the truth of suffering, the suffering exists. Suffering here, he mentioned like at the beginning, that what he discovered about the old age, sickness, and death. That is one of the suffering that we call the changeable thing, because under the impermanent, the changing, cause the suffering to happen. And without not understanding, so we call the ignorance or unknowing things, that the cause of suffering, the suffering that exists in our life, is not accidentally happen. It's not because that and this without reason. So the Four Noble Truths is talking about the cause and effects. Once suffering arises, like when certain kind of suffering, maybe sadness, or maybe disappointment, or maybe something that is not go along what we want. This kind of thing, and actually, if we look at clearly, deeper inside that, and actually the cause is not from something out there. And what he discovered and showing here, and actually because the craving, self-misunderstanding, that's caused to suffer mentally. So this is a basic thing, cause and effect. I think this is not an maybe general thing that we know, that's it, the suffering and the cause of suffering. And the third noble truth that he's shown, that it is possible to end this suffering, to end these unsatisfactoriness in life. That is, we have to be able to let go of that craving, or how to stop the second item, which is the cause of suffering. And he showed the way, what we call the path leading to the end of suffering. which is the opposite from the second one. Yeah? So now I think to have a clearer understanding on this point, now let's jump to the first one, the dukkha, or the first noble truth about suffering in detail. Yeah. So this is what he mentioned, that our life is like we rebirth and we old and we come adult and decline. Now, this is we call the cycle of life. Yeah. So in terms of Buddhism, view that life is like continue like this. And during our ways of and our journey, sometimes we happy, suffer. That is a common thing. Yeah. And the suffering that arises in our life, this is one of the examples of how much we crave on a certain thing, that how much it costs our life to suffer. That is the example of the story of Kisa Kotami grief. This has happened when in the Buddha time, there was a lady, her son passed away. Her son died simply. Then she, with sorrow and grief, she ran out and asking people, please help my son. He died. And no one can really help her. And she came across a Buddhist monk and the Buddha disciple. Then when she met this monk, and this monk told her that, I know one person, maybe he could help you. And you can go to him and ask him for help. Then this monk told her. Then she came to the Buddha, the Lord Buddha. Then asked for the Buddha, please, Buddha, help my son. My son, he died. So then the Buddha just keep silent for a while and told her that, yes, I'll help your son. I'll help your son. But please find me a seed of grain, the grain of rice, a grains of rice. And I will use that to be just a medicine to help your son, for example. But you have to get that grain of rice in the house of family who does no one die in their family. Then get that seed for me, then help your son. Then this lady also okay, I'll find it for you. And she went out and asking people from house to house, from family to family. And unfortunately, no house or family can really give her that grain, because when she approached each family, they just said, oh, my son just passed away, my grandmother's passed away. And she starts to realize that, and actually that is a very common thing that happened to all family. Then that wisdom starts to ripen, and her sorrow starts to decline and reducing. And when her mindfulness when she wake up from this sorrow, then she was able to accept that her son already passed away. Then she buried her son and came to the Buddha and asked the Buddha to ordain as a bhikkhuni, or female monk. And she is one of the enlightened one later of the practicing. So this is one of the story that when the suffering that arises in our life, I think we all here, we experience certain testing, certain part of the sufferings in life. Maybe we're losing something in our life, or disappointment that arises. And actually, because that all the suffering that arises is not because things out there changing, but because we cannot accept that reality, don't know the reality that caused us to suffer and misunderstanding. And what the Buddha mentioned, that the cause of suffering, it is called tanha in Pali words, or the cause of suffering, or craving. So craving here, what the Buddha mentioned, there's three different kind of craving, what we call thirst, the overwhelm desire. So the origin of suffering, the first one is thirst for pleasure, because we addicted with pleasure. We want to be like happy and happier and more happy, more. It's like we run after happiness again and again. It's like the cover. There's no ending. Like the more happier, the greater level of happiness we want. Like this is we call the thirst, and there's no ending. He found that there's no ending. It's like we are running all the time, and that make him very tired to run after this kind of happiness. And that is one of the cause of suffering that he mentioned. The second is thirst for existence. It's like I want to become. I don't want to be like this. I want to be taller. I want to be shorter. I want to be thinner. So thirst for existence, becoming a certain thing, and do not satisfy what one already have. So this is also causes sufferings in life. And another thing is a thirst for prosperity. And I think this is upon one of the nature of human being. But when it becomes thirst or over desire, it can cause us to suffer. Some people, we have to make a progress, develop. That's kind of too much. We call desire can cause the unpeaceful in life. So this is we call the source, the cause that make our life to struggle and suffer again and again, again and again. It's like the circle. So there's a very funny story about that craving. How that craving caused a traverse to like running in the circle of suffering. There's a very special way that people catch the monkey. The way to catch a monkey, they use we call banana shelf, and they make a hole that is perfectly fit with the hand of the monkey, and they tie with the rope with the coconut shell and put the nuts that is like a favorite food for the monkey, and they put them and they tie with the tree, and when the monkey came, and they just like put their hand to get that nut in the coconut shell, and when they grab, and the more that they grab the nut, the bigger their feet become, and when their feet become, they cannot pull their hands out from the coconut shell, and they were trapped, and they just run around the tree, and they were caught very easily. And actually, if these monkey a little bit wise enough, okay, they just like let go that nut in the coconut shell, they're going to be free, and they get freedom, and the people cannot catch them, And this is showing that how much craving. Sometimes maybe we were trapped by a certain thing that is not worth it to grab that and holding that kind of thing of pleasure, little pleasure, and it's like you are exchanged with your freedom. I think that is not worth it. It is not a right thing to like to get only that small pleasure in order to like be caught by the people. So this is the same thing. Our sufferings in life, because we cannot let go of certain thing that's caught us. We know exactly this kind of thing will run our life and lead our life in a certain way. So that's why this is what the Buddha shown that because of the craving, and that's called attachment to run in the circle. So what he shown in the third noble truth is about is it possible to be free from this so-called of this trap, we call independent state, or in Buddhism call it nirvana, or to completely be free from suffering. And to be able to do so, we have to go back to the second one, how to stop that cause. That the Buddha showed, we call the path, the practical part in order to be free oneself from suffering. He compared like a raft, the raft that one want to cross the river, one have to create the raft, one own raft. You cannot like stand one side and keep asking the other side to come to you. Please, the other side of the river, come to me. And that side of the river never come to you. You have to cross, and the way to cross is that you have to make your own raft and to cross the river. The same thing when we are going to change anything in our life or any problem or suffering in life, for example. We cannot like only asking without taking any action. So that's why the practicing to be able to free from suffering, the taking action is the most important part, and that is called the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Noble Eightfold Path is the practical part that can leading oneself to be free from suffering. First is called right view. Right view is the right understanding, right attitude, like a right mindset. Right mindset or right understanding here is understanding about the cause and effect. It's like we have the believe in the cause and effect, the action, believe in one own action. It's like, for example, in Buddhism, like believe in the karma, the karmic law. It's like every action, whether mentally, or verbally, or bodily, there's consequences. So this will be called the right understanding or right view. Right intention, intention about the mind. Intention, good intention, positive intention, and negative intention. This is concerned about the wisdom parts, the way how we think and view the world. And now it's leading to the, we call the morality. It's about concern about our behavior, the way we speak, the way we behave or treat oneself and treat other people. That is what we call right speed, the speed that is not hurting one another, hurting oneself, or simply telling something that is true, or not to tell lie, for example. This is what we call right speech. Right action, right action, like abstain from killing, abstain from stealing, abstain from sexual misconduct, and this kind of thing we call if one want to free from suffering, we have to stop doing this kind of negative action. Right action, right livelihood, to treat oneself or to treat oneself in the right way. Our job and should not be like make other people's life to suffer, or simply when we do trading, for example, trading or maybe doing business, the business that is not harming ourselves or other people. This is what we call right livelihood. Right efforts. Right effort is considered to like it's about the mental training. In order to away from something that is something that's bad, we need an energy and we need an effort to do so, because the negativity also have its energy, like a certain we call negative unhealthy habit in our life. Sometimes many people want to change their behavior, but sometimes it's not easy. At the beginning, they have to put a lot of efforts. That we call effort, we call right effort. Right, the effort to away from bad thing, the effort to cultivate new good, we call good deed, good action. The effort to maintain the good action that we already done in every day, and the effort to create new action, new good habit in life to happen. And this is considered as a right effort. Right mindfulness. So right mindfulness is concerned about to keep the mind with the present, and this is concerned with the mind. So basically, they are to be with the present,
like our mind, where is our body, our mind should be there, So this is the basic thing about, like, sometimes we can keep our mind with the body, with the feeling, or with the state of thinking. So watching what I'm thinking, what I'm intention, how do I feel right now? What the body position, I'm standing, I'm sitting, I'm speaking, or I'm walking. So this is we call the mindfulness, right mindfulness, observing oneself, whether mind or body. And the last one is right concentration. Right concentration is about practice oneself, practice one's own mind, how to be one-pointedness, or learn how to focus, stay focused. Because our mind, by nature, is very restless, always like the Buddha said, it's like a monkey, always jumping, and moving. And we cannot see clearly how our sometimes body is. We don't know exactly how do I feel right now. When we are not clear about this, because the blindness, the misunderstanding arise, and many problems and sufferings follow. But when we come to train our mind to be concentrated, we will see things clearly. It's like my hand. You're watching my hand. Once my hand is moving, you cannot see clearly how it looks like. But when it's slow down, and still it stops, you can see more detail about when it's not moving. The same thing. When we come back and articulate and clear about our minds and body, we will see things clearly. What is the cause and what is in detail. So when we see this thing clearer and clearer, of course we will see the cause of what make this to happen, continuously the changing. So that's why the right concentration is about to practice one mind to be concentrated. There's many different levels of concentration as well, and we'll maybe you can take a look more detail in this part in many media, about the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, now if anybody would like to break for some time, then we can back to the practical part on this section. We continue now. Okay, now we're moving to the practical part. Maybe any question from, this is what we call the theory part. The theory part is about the ideas and the teaching of the Buddha. That's in the conclusion, the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path is core teaching. That is all the teaching of the Buddha, 84,000 words. That is included in these teaching. That is Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. So from the theory, I think it's good to mention a little bit more about meditation. Maybe when you think of Buddhist monk or Buddhism, I think meditation is one of the big parts in this school. So meditation, there's very broad meaning. Nowadays people are using in many different way. So this is maybe can give you a clearer understanding on meditation, what meditation really is. And you see, according to the Noble Eightfold Path, meditation and concentration is one of the practical parts that is the way leading to the end of suffering. But actually, there's the other 7 items that you have also practiced along with meditation. It's about morality. It's a concern with our everyday life. And meditation is one of the item. It's concerned about the mental training. But actually it's a moral training and also wisdom training. The wisdom training we can learn and gain from listening, from practicing. And for the meditation, I think this is the practical part that sometimes we can practice formally or informally in our everyday life. So meditation, the first definition of meditation is it's the mental training to purify the mind. So our mind by nature is like full of like many information. Like we are in nowadays we are consuming many different media, and a lot of information that we absorb. Sometimes we don't really filter those information. Sometimes it's negative or positive. We just like receive in without like filter. So when we come to meditate, we will see this kind of process that our mind is not me. It's like thinking is thinking. When we listen, and most of the time we will grab and take it in, But when we come to learn and meditate, we will see that even the thoughts or the mind that's arising moment to moment is not identifying who we really is. But sometimes we, by misunderstanding, we take that seriously. Oh, this is my thinking. Sometimes it could be the voice. Or if you listen to like certain song again and again, it's like it keep repeating, singing in your head. So that is we call, and actually that sound or that voice is not really me or mine, because that keep rotating in our heads. And sometimes, oh, this could be my mind, and we just follow, and curious and doubts with this kind of thing. Sometimes even create more bigger picture in our heads. So when we come to meditate, we will find that this is not really me, and you will see that you can let go. Let go of this kind of thing. And the second definition of meditation is to train the monkey mind. As I said before, it's like a monkey, the mind. Its nature is like monkey, never stop, jumping from tree to another tree, from story to another story. Now, basically, sometimes like go back to the past, worry about the future, like feel guilt about the past, mistake. So, and actually, that's only nature. It's tend to we were trapped by the time, and actually, we do not live. We cannot live in the past or live in the future. But here's and now person is only a reality. So the future and the past is already, we cannot do anything with the future and the past. But the monkey mind's always grabbing certain memory, or maybe creating some picture, and dwell with those stories. And that we will trap and we lose the present moments to appreciate with the present moment. So simply we lost our to be happy with the present. So that's why we have to learn how to understand the nature of the monkey when it's jump to the past or wander to the future. To train not to dwell your mind. That's back to the beginning. It's about the past and the future. Most of the time, some certain situation, some people cannot let go of that kind of feeling. Sometimes we were trapped by the feeling because they have never checked their own thought, that they suffer because they keep thinking that story, that emotion. So they live like a yesterday life. And actually, the reality happening now, their minds and body is now, but the mind is still like years ago. That feeling is still ripen and creating, and actually in the mind only. To keep calm and peace in the mind. There is a state of peace in suffering and in happiness. You can find peace in a very difficult situation. You can even find peace when you are happy. So peace is not about excitement. Happiness from peace. And when you are in a very difficult time, like when you're sad or depressed or worry, and actually there's peace in every situation. But if we can learn this kind of thing, and actually we will be able to welcome Now, anything that will come to our life will come the reality. Because the reality, sometimes our life could be happy and suffer, up and down. But peace, if we can remain peace, we're going to be like unshakable. It's like we accept both sides of the reality. It's like hand. We cannot accept only the left side and reject. Oh, I don't want this side. I want only this side. But the reality is like come as a duality. So peace is like between, like we are step back and seeing this kind of two things that's happening. To learn how to be master of your own mind. So habitually, our mind is like our life is like is programmed. Is programmed by our habits. We tend to do something like every day, like is already programmed. Our habits. In order to understand the habitual of the mind, that always go to the past and wander to the future. Understanding that if we come back and meditate, you will find and know its nature, that when it's wander, and how to stop thinking, and when is to think, and when not to think. Many people suffer because they don't know how to think when it's just overwhelming. So many people couldn't sleep well because even though their body sleep and laying down, but their mind keep thinking, and that's called accumulating, and that's called stress to happen in some people. So learn meditation when you keep observing that thoughts, and actually we don't have to use too much energy to stop and learn how to calm down the monkey mind and stop the thinking. You will have the power to even we call control that mind without controlling, without not to controlling. Control without controlling. It's like observe. The more you observe this in nature, the more you will master. Oh, this is not good idea. Some people they just oh, this kind of thought is make me suffer a lot, but I don't know how to stop it. That is the training of meditation practice allowing us to come back and be able to know, oh, it's come again. We call awareness. The more we improve our awareness, the more we will be able to see this kind of nature of the mind better and better. This is because the path of leading to the self-understanding or self-discovery. I think that is for the overall. It's about the maybe I hope that this will give you more understanding about the definition of meditation. Okay, let's now take a look more on the meditation section. So in order to practice meditation, there's many different ways. And actually you can practice meditation in any posture. But what we need the intention and the intention to practice. To practice meditation, the key thing is that we are going to bring our mind back to come to the present moment. So present moment is because we are close to the reality. So the mind, we habitually in our life, we just let our mind to wander and think of this, that. It's like autopilot. We just let it wander and think in many different stories and see that, we hear that, we taste this, smell that. Only always following this kind of tension. But when we come to meditate, we are going to come back to this body. Simply, we're going to bring our intention back to the breath, the breathing in and breathing out. In order to connect the mind and the body. Because the body, this body you're sitting now, your body is not in the future. Your body is not yesterday or a couple seconds or minutes ago. Your changing is new every second. So that's why this is called the timeless. You're not under the times of trapped by the time, because the time goes futures and in the past. When you come back to reality, it's like you releasing oneself to aware and live with the reality that's happening now. Okay. Now we're going to learn how to practice basic meditation together. Okay. So I would like to invite everyone to sit. Sit on the chair. Maybe we are not going to sit in like cross-legged, but you just sit simply on the chairs and your back. Okay? Try not to against your back with the chair. So to avoid to be called torpor or laziness, you just simply relax, sitting, and place your both hands on your knee. Okay. Now make sure that you are sitting comfortably and stable, and just relax, and make sure that your head is sitting upright, your neck. Like imagine it's like if you have, I don't have hair, so it's like you're holding your hairs and you're holding your head, and allow this will allow you to be able to breathe more comfortably. And stand upright and place your both hands comfortably on your knees. And now just simply come back to your breath and observe the breath at the tip of your nose. Suppose that now you're waiting for someone. It's like the mind by nature, when we say we're waiting for someone, it's like, oh, we're waiting for the time, or when he will come, or maybe suppose we are waiting for the train, what time the train will come. Instead of saying to oneself, like, we're waiting, why just we be there? Be there, so we're sitting there, really sitting there. We're not waiting for something, but we really know that now I'm breathing, now I'm sitting, aware of that body. Now I'm sitting, now I'm breathing. Or if you find that the thinking, that the mind is thinking a lot, now I'm thinking. Just acknowledge now I'm thinking, but we don't go further that what story or what I'm thinking, we're not going to put that further thinking. Just aware that thinking is thinking. And sitting and breathing in and breathing out. And bring the intention back to here and now. And now just simply close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, you will be able to observe clearly the breath that's come through your nose, in and out, in and out. Okay, when you pay attention at the tip of your nose, just investigate a little bit about your body. Just relax the body, and any part of your body that you feel that is too tense, you just simply relax the body.